For 50 years, Frank Deford has had a front row seat to the world of professional sports as a senior editor at Sports Illustrated, a correspondent for HBO's Real Sports, and a contributor to Morning Edition on NPR.
The 6-time Sportswriter of the Year writes about his career and shares some amazing tales of sports' biggest moments in his new memoir, Over Time, My Life as a Sportswriter. Frank Deford, it's an honor to have you here.
Great to have you.
Thank you both.
First of all, I want to clear something up. Your famous color is purple. We wore purple
in your honor.
To honor you.
See,
and you don't have purple on.
If you wear it all the time, then it's an affectation. See, if you only wear it some of the time, it's a preference. If I'd only known, I would have.
You keep them guessing like you're writing.
I have a purple pen.
There you go. That's
okay?
perfect. That'll do. We like the pocket square. You say you're not a sports writer. You're someone who writes about sports. Why is that distinction important for you?
I think it's important because, first of all, the name sportswriter has a certain connotation that some people don't like. You immediately think of hack. Somebody who uses strange language and who's only covering games. And if you're writing about sports, I think you're writing about a larger universe. You're writing about the people. You're writing about issues. And under the umbrella of sports, I've written about every human emotion, everything from death to religion to sex to everything that a person lives. I've been very lucky.
You started at Sports Illustrated back in 1962.
Yes.
And what was that like?
Well, I was a kid then. I'm an old man now, but I was a kid then, and it was at a time, David Halberstam said it was the golden age of magazines, and it was. And I'm sort of learning at the feet of these giants. It was before television, before ESPN completely dominated sports, when Sports Illustrated was, you know, the biggest giant on the block, and it was an extraordinary experience. You had fabulous access. I always tell young writers, which they don't believe me, that I can remember after an NBA series being alone with Jerry West in the Laker locker room for about 10, 15 minutes, walking across the way and being alone with Bill Russell for 10 or 15 minutes. You couldn't even get in that kind of interview anymore.
When you were sitting in the first-class seats in planes and the players were back in coach.
Yes. Yes, I can remember.
That's the way it was back then.
That is honest to God, and I can remember John Havlicek. I was doing a cover story on John Havlicek, and the Celtics were all flying in the back, and Havlicek came up and said, "Aren't you going to interview me?" And I said, "But you can't stay up here, John." And I had to go to the back of the coach to interview the guy who was, you know, on the All-Star team.
I know you're reluctant to say what your favorite sport is, but do you have a sport that you really enjoyed writing about?
Oh, no. Writing doesn't make any difference, and I'll tell you this. The best sports to write about, and I'm not being facetious, are those with the fewest players and the least clothes. But I know. That's why they keep making boxing movies, even though nobody goes to see boxing.
I would have gone with swimming at that point.
Well, that would be, you see, but there's 8 people in a race.
Okay.
You see, you want the fewest. Actually, the worst sport to write about, in many respects, is football. The players are all masked.
Yeah.
There's so many of them.
You mentioned football. Can we talk about concussions right now?
Sure.
How fundamentally has that issue changed the game, and how much will it change the game moving forward?
You've already got like 2 million less kids playing football than just a few years ago. Everybody talks now about concussions as they relate to the NFL, because a lot of players are suing, and of course the NFL is so popular. But I think the big issue is further down the line. Parents, more and more parents are saying, I don't want my kid to play football. And so we've got this dichotomy of the most popular sport in America, in which is becoming a gladiator sport, in which middle classes are fewer and fewer middle class kids are going to be allowed to play football. And I think the concussion is a very serious issue, and it's only going to become larger.
Horse racing. We get a Triple Crown winner. The Belmont's coming up. Does I'll Have Another do it?
He can do it, but he's got good competition. Urban Rags, who was the earlier favorite of the Kentucky Derby, will be there. And nobody ever knows whether a horse can go 1.5 miles, because they never have done it before. And so you're in unknown territory. The great thing about the Triple Crown is just getting a horse to vie for the Triple Crown at the Belmont. Whether he wins or not, I'm not so sure it's not good to keep the curse going. You know, people keep saying, oh, it's been 34 years or it's been 35 years. If it was last year, who cares? But yes, he looks like a very good horse, and he has a very good chance.
Frank Deford, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.